His hand slid across my waist like it had every right to be there. His lips were brushing against the side of my neck, warm and teasing, leaving little sparks on my skin. The dim hotel room light flickered from the bedside lamp, casting shadows that felt as guilty as I did. I wasn't supposed to be here. I wasn't supposed to let this man touch me, not when I had a husband waiting at home who thought I was out with girlfriends. But in that moment, with my breath quickening, my knees weak, and my heart pounding louder than the music still humming in my ears from the bar downstairs, I didn't care. For the first time in years, I felt alive. My body, my choices, my little secret. I could feel his breath against my ear as he whispered, "You sure you want this?" My answer was in the way I pulled him closer. But wait, before I dive too deep, let me pause for just a second. If you're watching this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Trust me, you don't want to miss the rest of this story, because what I'm about to share with you is something I never thought I'd confess out loud. Now, let's rewind. Let me take you back to how it all started, because this didn't happen overnight. It began in the most ordinary place, my kitchen. I was standing there one Thursday evening, cooking dinner while my husband scrolled through his phone at the table. We had been married for almost 12 years, living in a quiet suburb just outside of Dallas. The kind of neighborhood where people wave at each other while walking their dogs, where the mailman knows your name, where everyone pretends life is picture perfect. And mine was, at least from the outside. A nice house, a steady marriage, 2 kids who were already off at college. On paper, I had it all. But inside, I was restless. The routine was choking me, same meals, same conversations, same nights spent watching TV in silence. That evening, as I stirred the pot on the stove, I caught a glimpse of myself in the microwave door. My hair tied back, no makeup, wearing an old t-shirt. I looked more like someone's tired aunt than a woman in her 30s who still had fire left inside her. Something inside me snapped. I wanted more. The thought was so simple it scared me. More what? More excitement, more risk, more me. Somewhere along the line, I had disappeared into being the wife and the mom, and the woman I used to be, the one who laughed too loud, who wore dresses just because, who flirted for fun, she had gone missing. That night, after dinner, I told my husband I was going to bed early. But instead, I stood in front of the mirror in the bathroom, staring at myself. I whispered out loud, what if I tried being bad, just for a little while? The idea settled in my chest like a dare. I wasn't talking about forever. I wasn't even talking about leaving my husband. I just wanted 1 week, 7 days. To see what it felt like to live without rules. To be the girl I had buried under layers of responsibility. And once the thought planted itself, I couldn't shake it. The very next evening, I made my move. I told my husband I was meeting a girlfriend for drinks. It wasn't a complete lie, I did have girlfriends, but I wasn't planning on seeing them. Instead, I slipped into a black dress that had been hanging in my closet for years, the kind that clung to my hips and showed just enough cleavage to make me feel daring. I put on red lipstick, something I hadn't worn since my 20s, and heels that clicked against the hardwood floor. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I almost didn't recognize the woman staring back. She looked bold, hungry, alive. I drove downtown, my hands trembling against the steering wheel. I picked a hotel bar I had never been to before, neutral ground where no one would know me. The kind of place where businessmen stopped for a drink after conferences, where strangers crossed paths and disappeared again. The bar was dim, the kind of lighting that makes secrets easier to keep. I slid onto a stool, ordered a martini, and for the first time in a long time, I let myself be looked at. Men glanced my way, some curious, some bold. And when one of them, a tall man in his early 40s with a confident smile, sat next to me and struck up a conversation, I didn't shy away like I normally would. I leaned in. I laughed too easily. I touched his arm when I spoke. I was playing a role, but God, it felt good. "Are you here alone?" he asked, his eyes lingering on me in a way that made my skin tingle. Yes, I said, surprising myself with how easily the lie slipped out. The conversation flowed. He told me about his business trip, I told him half-truths about myself. And as the martinis kept coming, so did the sparks. I felt a buzz that had nothing to do with alcohol. It was the thrill of crossing a line, of being seen not as a wife, not as someone's mother, but as a woman. By the end of the night, when he offered to walk me upstairs to his room, my heart pounded so hard I thought it might break my ribs. I didn't go that night. Not yet. I wasn't ready. But as I drove home, my lipstick smudged and my body humming with adrenaline, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't stopping. That was the beginning. One drink, one stranger, one lie. And in that quiet moment driving back to my neat suburban house, I made a decision. For 1 week, just 7 days, I was going to be a bad girl. No rules, no explanations, no guilt. And as you can already tell from the way I started this story, I dove headfirst into something I could never take back. The next morning, I could still feel his kiss on my lips. I lay in bed, pretending to sleep while my husband got dressed for work. Every rustle of his shirt, every sound of his shoes on the hardwood floor, made my chest tighten. Not from guilt, though I should have felt that, but from the secret sitting in my chest like a hot coal. I was different now. I knew it. After he left, I opened my phone and saw the messages waiting for me from the younger guy I'd met. Had fun last night, winky face. We should do it again soon. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I shouldn't. I had already gone too far. But then I remembered my list, my so-called bad girl rules. And number 5 was still unchecked, at least one night in a hotel. The thought made my stomach flip. Could I really? By noon, I had texted him back, tonight. I'll pick the place. The whole day, I walked around like a woman carrying dynamite in her purse. At the grocery store, I smiled politely at neighbors, all while planning which hotel would be safe, which lie I would tell, what dress I would wear. My husband called in the afternoon just to check in, and I forced my voice to sound casual, light, bored, anything but the storm brewing inside me. When evening came, I told him I was having dinner with an old friend. He didn't question it. Why would he? I had never given him a reason not to trust me. I booked a room at a hotel downtown. Not the one from the first night, but a different one, something sleek, with mirrored elevators and crisp white sheets. I arrived early, nerves buzzing, and paced the room like I was waiting for a storm to roll in. When the knock finally came, my breath caught in my throat. He walked in with that same crooked grin, wearing a plain t-shirt and jeans, looking so young and carefree it almost scared me. He dropped his bag, and before I could second-guess myself, he closed the space between us. The kiss was hungry, urgent, filled with the kind of energy I hadn't felt in years. My body responded before my brain could even catch up. His hands were everywhere, my waist, my back, my hips, claiming me like I was his. And I let him. For the next few hours, the world outside that hotel room disappeared. There was no husband, no suburb, no polite conversations about dinner plans or grocery lists. There was only me, this man, and the reckless choices I was making. At one point, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror across the room, hair wild, lipstick smeared, body alive in a way it hadn't been in so long. It was like seeing a stranger and finally recognizing her. Afterward, we lay tangled in the sheets, both of us catching our breath. He turned to me with a lazy smile. You don't look like the kind of woman who usually does this. I'm not, I admitted, laughing softly. This is new. He raised a brow, clearly intrigued. Then I'm honored to be part of your experiment. I didn't tell him it was more than that I had given myself a 1-week window to break every rule I'd ever lived by. He didn't need to know. All he needed to do was keep being the escape I craved. When I left the hotel that night, the city lights blurred as I drove home. My hands gripped the steering wheel tight, adrenaline still pumping through me. I should have felt guilty, dirty, ashamed. But I didn't. I felt powerful. Over the next few days, I leaned harder into my bad girl role. On Monday, I went to a rooftop bar alone, dressed in a short red dress I'd bought years ago but never dared to wear. I ordered cocktails, danced with strangers, and let one of them press his hand against the small of my back as we moved. I didn't even care that people were watching. For once, I wanted to be seen. On Tuesday, I skipped the gym and instead spent the morning in bed, scrolling through messages from both men, the older one from the hotel bar and the younger one from campus. Both were still reaching out, both wanting to see me again. It was intoxicating, knowing I had choices, that men were chasing me, desiring me, when for so long I had felt invisible. On Wednesday, I lied about going shopping and met the younger guy again. We didn't even bother with a full evening this time. Just another hotel room, another blur of reckless heat, another night of me feeding the hunger I had kept caged for too long. By midweek, the lines between my real life and my secret one began to blur. I'd sit at dinner with my husband, nodding along as he talked about work, while my phone buzzed in my lap with a new message. I'd fold laundry while replaying hotel moments in my head. I'd water the plants in our backyard and feel a rush of thrill knowing that, just hours before, I'd been doing things no one here could ever imagine. The risk, the secrecy, the dual life, it became addictive. But as intoxicating as it was, something darker crept in too. One night, after another hotel meet-up, I caught myself staring at the younger man as he slept beside me. His face relaxed, lips parted, so completely at ease. And that's when it hit me, this wasn't just about lust anymore. A part of me liked being wanted by him. Liked the way he looked at me like I was exciting, like I was dangerous. That was never part of the plan. This was supposed to be 1 week. A game. A rebellion. But lying there in that hotel bed, I realized I was already in deeper than I thought. And before I take you to the next part of this story, because trust me, things only get messier from here, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with someone who loves a juicy secret, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss what happens next. Because by the end of that week, I wasn't just playing bad girl. I was becoming her. By the 4th night, my double life was starting to catch up with me. I sat at the dinner table with my husband, a plate of roast chicken between us, while my phone buzzed against my thigh under the tablecloth. I knew exactly who it was. The younger man never waited long to text me after we'd been apart. My husband glanced at me, his mouth full. "Who's that?" I forced a smile, shrugging like it was nothing. Probably just spam. Inside, my pulse was racing. One wrong move, one glance at the screen, and everything would come crumbling down. I had never been a good liar, but suddenly lying had become as natural as breathing. After dinner, when he went to shower, I snuck into the bathroom, locked the door, and pulled out my phone. "Younger guy, thinking about you, winky face, when can I see you again?" My fingers hovered over the screen. This was supposed to be temporary, 1 week, nothing more. But already I was looking forward to him more than I should have. I wasn't just sneaking around anymore, I was craving him. That scared me. I typed back anyway, tomorrow. Same place. The next day, I played the perfect wife all morning, laundry, grocery shopping, making the house spotless, while my mind was already at the hotel. I told my husband I was visiting a friend in the city. He kissed me on the cheek, told me to have fun, and I felt a sting of guilt sharper than before. But the moment I walked into that hotel room and saw the younger man grinning at me, all that guilt melted into heat. This time, it wasn't just physical. He held me longer afterward, asked me questions about my life, made me laugh in ways I hadn't in years. He touched me like I was precious, like he couldn't believe I had chosen him. And the worst part? A part of me loved that feeling. I wasn't supposed to. This was supposed to be a game. A fling. A week of being reckless before snapping back into my old self. But lying there with his arm draped across me, I realized I didn't want it to end. That night, back home, I caught myself staring at my husband across the couch. He was scrolling through sports highlights, barely glancing at me. His face looked familiar, comfortable, steady, everything I had once wanted. But in that moment, I saw the distance between us clearer than ever. And the contrast between him and the younger man burned inside me. The danger grew sharper with every lie. On Thursday, while cooking dinner, my husband walked into the kitchen earlier than I expected. My phone was on the counter, screen lit up with a new message before I could flip it over. He frowned. "Who keeps texting you lately?" I froze, forcing myself to stay calm. "Oh, it's just one of the girls from my book club. She won't stop blowing up the group chat." He chuckled and shrugged it off, but my knees almost gave out once he left the room. I was playing with fire, and sooner or later, I was going to get burned. Still, the risk only made it more thrilling. By Friday, I had convinced myself this was the last time. The last night before the week ended. One more taste before I went back to being the good wife. I booked another hotel, farther from home this time. When I walked in, the younger man was already waiting, leaning against the wall with that cocky grin. But this time, when he pulled me into his arms, there was something different about it. Softer. More real. "Gonna miss you when you disappear," he murmured against my neck. I laughed, trying to brush it off. "Who says I'm disappearing?" He pulled back, searching my eyes. "You don't strike me as someone who does this kind of thing forever." He was right. And yet, the thought of never seeing him again left a hollow ache in my chest. We spent hours together that night, not just tangled in the sheets but talking, really talking. About dreams, about regrets, about the parts of life no one else bothered to ask me about anymore. For the first time in a long time, I felt heard. When I drove home at dawn, mascara smudged and heart heavy, I stared at myself in the rearview mirror. My reflection was almost unrecognizable, both terrifying and intoxicating. Who was this woman? Was she still me? And before I move on, let me just remind you, if you're still watching, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who loves stories with secrets. Because the most dangerous part of this story isn't what I did, it's how close I came to losing everything. Saturday night, the last official night of my one-week rebellion, I stood in front of my mirror in silence. I touched my lips, remembering the younger man's kiss. I glanced at my wedding ring, sitting untouched in the jewelry box. For the first time all week, guilt hit me hard. I hadn't been caught. My husband suspected nothing. But I knew myself, I was already past the point of no return. The danger wasn't in the hotel rooms or the lies. The danger was that I wanted more. Saturday evening, I stood in front of my closet with a glass of wine in hand, staring at rows of clothes that suddenly felt like costumes. Wife clothes. Safe clothes. Clothes that made me blend into church picnics and grocery store aisles. But tonight wasn't about blending in. Tonight was the last night of my one-week rebellion. My final night of being the woman I had dared myself to become. I reached for a black dress I hadn't worn in years, short, tight, unapologetically bold. I paired it with heels that made my legs look longer, painted my lips deep red, and sprayed perfume I usually saved for anniversaries. As I looked in the mirror, the woman staring back didn't look like the wife from suburbia. She looked like someone who could walk into any room and command attention. And that's exactly what I planned to do. I told my husband I was meeting a girlfriend for girls' night out. He barely looked up from the TV, muttering, "Have fun." The ease of his trust cut me sharper than any knife. If he only knew where I was really going. I drove into the city, the skyline glittering in the distance like a dare. I chose a nightclub I had only heard about, one of those places where the music pulses so loud you feel it in your chest. The line outside wrapped around the block, but when I finally stepped inside, it was like entering another world, neon lights, sweaty bodies, the bass thundering through the floor. I ordered a drink and stood by the bar, letting the beat wash over me. For a while, I just watched, women half my age dancing without a care, men circling like sharks, the intoxicating chaos of it all. Then a hand touched mine, and I turned to see a stranger grinning at me. "Dance?" he asked. I could have said no. I should have said no. But I drained the last of my drink and let him lead me onto the dance floor. The music swallowed us whole. His hands rested boldly on my hips, pulling me closer as we moved in sync. I laughed, head thrown back, letting go in a way I hadn't in years. My heart raced, not just from the dancing but from the way strangers looked at me, like I belonged there, like I wasn't someone's wife sneaking around. One song melted into another, and soon his lips brushed against mine. The kiss was hot, reckless, and it tasted like freedom. For a moment, I forgot everything, the ring I had left behind, the man waiting at home, even the younger guy I had been seeing all week. Right there, on the dance floor, I was just a woman taking what she wanted. But then I pulled away, breathless. The kiss had been fun, but it wasn't what I wanted for my last night. Not entirely. I left the stranger on the floor, weaving my way back toward the bar. That's when I saw him. The younger guy. He was leaning against the wall, watching me with that same crooked smile that had pulled me in the first time. My stomach flipped. I hadn't told him where I'd be tonight. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was foolishness. But when he walked over, I didn't resist. "Couldn't let the weekend without seeing you again," he said, his voice low against my ear. I didn't even answer. I just grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the exit. We didn't talk much on the way to the hotel. We didn't need to. The silence between us was thick, heavy with everything we had been building all week. The moment the door closed behind us, we collided like fire and gasoline. Every kiss, every touch, every breath was charged with the knowledge that this was the end. My last night. My last chance to be the bad girl I had dared myself to be. And I didn't hold back. Hours blurred into a haze of sweat, laughter, whispered secrets, and the kind of intensity that made me forget who I was supposed to be. I didn't just feel alive, I felt unstoppable. But then, when it was over, reality crept back in. We lay tangled in the sheets, his arm draped over me, the city lights spilling through the curtains. My chest rose and fell in slow, heavy breaths, but my mind was racing. I thought about my husband at home, trusting, oblivious. I thought about the lies I had told, the risks I had taken. I thought about how easily it all could have fallen apart. And for the first time all week, the thrill didn't drown out the guilt. At dawn, I slipped out of bed, dressed quietly, and kissed the younger man on the forehead. He stirred, half asleep, and mumbled, "See you soon?" I didn't answer. Because I knew there wouldn't be a soon. I drove home with the windows down, the cool morning air washing over me like a confession. Every stoplight felt like a judgment, every empty street like a reminder of the lies I had told. When I finally pulled into the driveway, the house looked the same as it always had. Neat. Ordinary. Safe. My husband was inside, probably still asleep. From the outside, nothing had changed. But inside me, everything had. Standing in front of the mirror in my bedroom, I slid my wedding ring back onto my finger. It felt heavier than before. My reflection stared back at me, same face, same hair, same woman. But I knew better. I wasn't the same. For 1 week, I had been a bad girl. I had lied, I had crossed lines, I had lived recklessly. And though no one caught me, though my husband never suspected a thing, I knew I would never forget what I had done. It wasn't just about the men or the hotel rooms or the secrets. It was about me. About the part of me I had buried for years, the part that wanted more than routines and silence. And now that I had tasted it, I couldn't untaste it. So here I am, telling you this story anonymously, because I can't tell anyone else. And if you've stayed with me through all 5 chapters of my confession, then you know why I needed to share it. So please, don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. I have more secrets than you could imagine, and maybe one day, I'll tell you the rest. But for now, this is enough.